Hello, my name is Mariah and this is my channel, Call It Our Creations, and today is episode 2 of a series that I just started that I'm calling Vulnerability Diaries. Just to summarize, my goal with this series is to come on here every week and to share vulnerable experiences from my past and lessons that I've distilled from them. And through this, my intention is to express, to experiment with myself, to get to know myself deeper through this process and to push my edges and get uncomfortable with sharing vulnerable things on a public platform. And then through that, hopefully inspiring people either through the lessons I've learned or inspiring you to be more vulnerable within your own life. Before we dive in, let's sip some tea. Cheers to being human, to making mistakes and learning from them, and cheers to being vulnerable, to getting to know yourself deeper through expressing things that feel uncomfortable. Cheers. Before we dive into my story today, I just want to share a little bit about my perspective of healing. I feel like healing isn't trying to fix something that's broken. I believe healing unfolds naturally. Well-being is our natural state. Healing is more so the process of getting out of our own way and allowing that well-being to flow through. We all experience different blocks, different ways that we restrict that flow of well-being. I feel like, healing is that journey of just clearing the blocks out of the way. If you think of like a river and you just have a bunch of boulders in the way, and it's just like making room for that water to flow. And I truly believe that healing is a form of alchemy, is a form of distilling the lesson from every single experience and just really trusting that everything in life has something to show you and to teach you. And to genuinely distill the lesson from the experience, we need to get objective about things, because when we're identified with our experiences, we try to shove the feelings away or we pull them so close that it's like overwhelming and intense. And we do this because we're so identified with the experience and we react to it by pushing or pulling. But I really feel like through the process of really taking a step back and witnessing the situation and not getting so sucked into the whole circumstance, then you're able to see a bigger picture. You're able to actually witness it without all the attachments to the feelings, to the situation. You're able to just see it as it is. And really from that stance, you can objectively witness the situation and then distill the lesson from that. And I just personally feel like I have experienced so much growth in my life by moving through life with this mindset of really seeing everything as my teacher. Everything is my teacher. And it really becomes a fascinating game of listening closely, because lessons are not always so direct, but through listening to the subtlety, you start to learn the lessons, and then through integrating the lessons that you learn, so much shifts. One last thing I want to say is that this is typically not a simple process. I feel like so many things are paradoxes. It is a simple process, yet it's also not simple and quick. And I really feel like there's not like quick, easy fixes. And a lot of times you just have to have patience. I'm not saying I'm like some guru or fully healed. I have so much untangling to still do within myself. Yet I will also say where I am right now is so different than where I used to be. And I've grown so much. And I've experienced some blocks that have circled again and again and again. And it's taken me a long time to really integrate the lessons that I've learned. And sometimes that happens. Life works in spirals. Each time we reapproach a situation with a similar signature, we deepen our awareness and gain more clarity. We can use that as information to inform our choices. I feel like there's no simple, easy formula, but I really do deeply believe that treating everything as your teacher is a life-changing mindset. Okay, now it's story time. So today we're going to talk a little bit about my experiences with using alcohol and adderall to avoid, just for a little time frame reference. These stories are from back when I was an undergrad in college. I was 17. I am 27 now. So this is about 9 to 10 years ago. In college, I used alcohol so heavy. At that time of my life, I honestly had so many emotions that I was just shoving under the rug. And I just did not feel good. And I felt very lost and confused and just a whirlwind of so many challenging emotions. And at the time, my focus was on partying and drinking. That felt exciting in my life, and it felt like a good distraction from the way I was feeling internally. So freshman year of college, I went wild, as a lot of people do, of course. You know, I feel like that's a big trend to go through a party phase in college. But with me, I can be really extreme with things, and I was really extreme with it. I would go out about 5 nights a week. There were some weeks where I'd go out 6 nights a week, and I was drinking so heavy. Like so heavy. I was taking 6 to 10 shots before the bars, and I was blacking out pretty much every night. Some nights I was blacking out at the pregame. Yeah, needless to say, that was not healthy. It felt really scary waking up the next morning and not remembering your night from before, and doing that like 5 times a week. So yeah, I was just really deep in it with alcohol. And then pretty soon into my freshman year, maybe like halfway through or something, I started taking Adderall. For me, getting good grades felt so important, but I obviously was out partying all the time, which made school challenging. So I wanted a way to still get good grades, but still go out and party. So I started taking Adderall. And as I said with the alcohol, I have a tendency to just like go in on things. I can be extreme. And I ended up taking a lot of Adderall, like really high doses, like cracked out high doses, where I would go out and drink, and then I'd wake up, and then I would take the Adderall, and I'd just be cracked out all day long, and then go out again. And yeah, but I was taking such high doses. At first, I really enjoyed the Adderall because it helped me like focus in. And then also because it felt like another way to numb. Like at night, I was numbing with the alcohol. And then during the day, I was numbing with Adderall. So it was like perfect. But pretty quickly, since I was so extreme with it and taking such high doses, like I was just cracked out. And it really wasn't actually even helping me because I'd be too focused. Like I would set up my computer to write an essay, and then I have to like reorganize like everything on the desk, and then to reorganize my files, and then I'd spend hours just setting up to write the paper. And then I'd write the paper, and then I'd spend hours and hours on like a 2-page paper. It like magnified my perfectionism. And then when you take Adderall, it's like an appetite suppressant. So I was barely eating, and I had to force myself to eat because it was just, the thought of eating was just repulsive to me. It was like I knew I needed to eat and I wanted to eat. I didn't want to starve myself, but like when I was on that much Adderall, it just felt, it was so hard to eat. So hard. I had to force myself to eat just little bits. So I was barely eating, and then could not sleep well because I was on a bunch of Adderall. At night I'd smoke a bunch of weed, but then it didn't really help because I was like both weirdly like stimulated and low. And the nights I drank, you just don't sleep good when you have alcohol in your system. So my sleep was not good. My eating habits were not good, and my health was just falling apart. I was so cracked out on it that like I'd start to lose feeling in my hands and my feet. I would take like hot showers and just blast the heat, and I couldn't even feel the heat because I wanted to just like feel something. And I felt like a robot. Like it was so bad. I felt like a robot. I swear, like I just felt like a machine. I don't know how else to put it. My emotions and everything just felt so far away from me, which in a way it's like it helped me numb, but it was just another level of uncomfortable. And yeah, I just could see that I was not doing well. I could see that these habits were not helping me, and I was going down a really unhealthy path, and I knew I needed to change. I really knew I needed to change. As for the Adderall, I got to a point where I was like, dude, you need to stop. We gotta chill with this. So I sat down and put on a documentary about all the negative side effects of Adderall addiction. And after that documentary, I quit cold turkey, which was so good for me. And then as for the drinking, halfway through my sophomore year, I started to chill out. I started to smoke weed more, which I will say I did use it to numb. It was another form of numbing, but it felt like a less destructive form of numbing as opposed to like heavy alcohol use. And then eventually halfway through my sophomore year, I ended up transferring colleges. I got in a relationship, and then I transferred to his college, and during that time period I just stopped going out, and my life changed a lot. I still drank some wine maybe once or twice a week, but nothing crazy, and removing myself from that environment was so good for me. And I'm not saying it's the college to blame, although I did go to a very party oriented college on purpose, but I just knew that staying in that environment wasn't going to be supportive for me. It just felt like to step into the version of me that was making better choices, I needed to remove myself from that situation. So I did, and I'm so glad I did. So yeah, the alcohol and the adderall were definitely ways I would just numb and avoid, and these behaviors were the symptom of something much deeper. They were the symptom of all of these emotions that I was shoving onto the surface and not looking at. And avoiding through alcohol and adderall were just habits that I developed to avoid the uncomfortability, to avoid the responsibility of actually looking at and working through all of the stuff that I've been shoving under the surface. With all of that, I want to take a step back and just say that I also have grace for myself through the process, because like at the time I didn't have the tools that I have now to help me work through all of the baggage. So I really do have compassion for that past version of me, for that part of my journey. And I'm really grateful that I was able to deepen my awareness, to recognize that this is not how I want to be living. This is not good for me, and to really make different choices. And now I just want to share a few lessons that I learned from these experiences. Number one, avoiding never helps. It really never helps. It's like a temporary fix. It's like putting a band-aid on it. Say there's like a water leak and it's like sprouting up and you're just like holding it, but the pressure's still there. And eventually it's just gonna get so strong that it just bursts. You know, I definitely learned that the more you shove shit under the rug, nothing will be resolved until those uncomfortable feelings are actually faced. Avoidance becomes such a tricky game, and it really doesn't help in the long run. Getting quick fixes and temporary satisfaction is not truly fulfilling. True fulfillment cannot be accessed through avoidance. Number two, removing yourself from unhealthy situations is so helpful. I really do believe that healing happens from within. But part of that journey is building enough strength and self-love within yourself to remove yourself from environments, situations, relationships, whatever it may be, to remove yourself. If they are not supportive, if they are not healthy, it is an act of self-love to remove yourself. With the whole story I just shared, I really do feel like removing myself from that environment allowed for the healing to happen more naturally. Of course, there were other steps that I had to take. I really don't feel like it would have unfolded as easily had I not removed myself from that environment. And then number three, the journey back to self-love requires will. You have to will yourself to take steps that come from a space of self-love. Even if the love seems to be so far away, if you continue to orient towards self-love through your actions, through your choices, little by little you'll start to feel it. In the beginning stages, it typically is not easy to consciously show up every day and make choices little by little. And then the more you make those choices and little bits of love start to get in those cracks, you start to feel more inspired, and it just feeds itself. And then eventually moving through life with self-love becomes more natural. If you want to zoom out and look at it this way, you're just breaking habits and forming new habits. I feel like sometimes people say that they're not good at discipline, but the truth is you actually are really good at it. You're just disciplined to things that are unhealthy for you. So if you just reorient towards things that are healthy for you and just build a new habit to replace the unhealthy habit, then your whole life will change. So it really is the process of little by little orienting towards self-love and forming new habits that come from that space, that come from a space of love, that come from a space of devotion. And then number four, life can feel like such a long and challenging journey, but really shifting your perspective is so worth it. To allow love and beauty to seep into your life is truly life-changing. My camera is gonna die, so I'm gonna wrap it up. As always, I want to remind you that your energy, your attention is so precious. So I don't take it for granted that you shared your energy with me through witnessing me coming on here and sharing and expressing. And I really hope that what I share can be supportive to you in some way. So thank you for witnessing. And I hope you have such a beautiful day, night, life, whatever it is. Thanks for hanging out with me.